My name is Rachel. I'm 35. I own a small event planning company, which means I know exactly how much a party costs down to the last cocktail napkin and the last centerpiece candle. So, when my brother called me 8 weeks ago and said he needed to use my house just for one afternoon, just a small birthday thing for our mom, I said yes without thinking twice. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was not checking my Ring camera footage before I left for the weekend. Because what I came home to on Sunday evening was not a small birthday thing. It was 60 people, a catering van still parked in my driveway, a DJ booth where my dining table used to be, and a bar setup in my living room that I did not purchase, did not approve, and absolutely did not agree to. And sitting in the middle of my couch with a glass of champagne in his hand and my good throw pillows on the floor was my brother Marcus, smiling at me like I was the one who'd just arrived at the party. "We saved you a plate," he said. I didn't touch the plate. I didn't sit down. I stood in the doorway of my own home and waited. Because I'd been here before. Not in my house, but in this exact moment. The moment right before Marcus handed me a bill and called it love. Welcome to Calm Drama Stories. If you've ever been used by the people who were supposed to protect you, stay with me. This one is for you. Let me back up, because you need to understand the full picture before I tell you how this ended. I started my event planning company, Ivory & Co., 7 years ago, out of my apartment with a laptop, a color printer, and exactly 3 clients, 2 of whom were my friends who paid me in gift cards. Today, I run 40 to 50 events per year. Weddings, corporate galas, milestone birthdays. I have a team of 4, a warehouse space where I store rentals, and a client list that keeps growing because I do one thing nobody else does. I answer my phone on Sundays. It's not glamorous. I drive a used car. I rent my house. Yes, rent. And I spend more on vendor deposits than I spend on myself in 6 months. But it's mine. Every invoice, every 5-star review, every panicked bride I've talked down from a ledge at midnight. I earned all of it. Marcus is 31. He is charming, funny, and the kind of person who walks into a room and makes everyone feel like they've known him for years. He has exactly the right personality to be wildly successful and exactly the wrong relationship with effort to ever get there. He's had 7 jobs in 9 years.
None of them stuck. Not because he was fired. Mostly, but because Marcus has always believed something better
was coming. Something easier. Something that didn't require alarm clocks or follow-through. Our mom raised us alone after our dad left when I was 10 and Marcus was 6. She worked double shifts at a hospital laundry for most of our childhoods. She is the hardest working person I've ever met. And she's never asked either of us for a single thing she didn't absolutely need. Marcus and I love our mother with everything we have. That's the one thing we've always agreed on. And Marcus has always known, because he is smart, that our mother is my soft spot. Mention Mom and I will move mountains. He's been using that lever for 15 years. The call came on a Thursday evening. I was in the middle of reconciling vendor invoices. His name lit up my phone. I almost let it go to voicemail. I want to be honest about that. Because Marcus only calls when he needs something, and I was in the middle of a spreadsheet, and I was tired. But I picked up because that's what I do. He said he wanted to throw Mom a birthday party. Her 60th was coming up in 3 weeks, and he'd been thinking he wanted it to be special, intimate. Just family and a few of her friends at my house, because my house had the yard and he lived in a studio apartment. I asked how many people. 20, he said. 25, tops. I asked who was paying. He got quiet in that specific way. Marcus gets quiet when he's building up to something. Then he said he was in a tight spot financially right now. Nothing serious. Just a cash flow thing.
And he was thinking maybe we could split the cost? He'd handle the decorations and the food?
I'd just provide the space. I told him I'd think about it.
I called my best friend Danielle right after and said,
"He's going to do something. I can feel it," she said. "Rachel, don't let him use your house," I said. "It's Mom's 60th.
Danielle was quiet for a second. Then she said,
"That's exactly what he's counting on." I knew she was right. I went ahead anyway. Because it was Mom's 60th. And I wanted her to have something real. Something that felt like a celebration. Secure. And if Marcus was actually going to follow through for once in his life, I wasn't going to be the one who stopped it.
I texted Marcus.
"Yes, you can use the house. Keep it small.
No more than 30 people.
And nothing gets billed to me without my approval first." He sent back a thumbs up emoji, 3 thumbs up emojis. I should have known then. Savannah. A rehearsal dinner I'd been booked for since January. So I'd be out of town from Friday night to Sunday evening. I left Marcus a key. I left him written instructions. I left him the code to the back gate, the location of extra seating in the garage, and a note that said, "Please do not use the good linen napkins. They're in the cedar chest, and they're for client events." He texted me Saturday morning. "Everything's good. Mom's going to love it." And I believed him because I was standing in a hotel ballroom in Savannah hanging paper lanterns at 7 a.m. And I did not have the bandwidth to distrust him properly. That afternoon, between the rehearsal dinner course and the toasts, my phone started buzzing. First, it was a text from my cousin, Yvonne. "Girl, this party is everything. Marcus really did that." Then a photo. Then another photo. Then a video clip. I looked at the video. It was my living room. My living room with a bar set up I had never seen before, and at least 50 people I did not recognize.
And a DJ playing something with a bass line
That I could feel even through my phone speaker. 60 60 people, a catering spread, a full bar. I texted Marcus. "How many people are there?" He replied. "People keep showing up. It's going great."
I put my phone in my pocket and went back to
Rehearsal dinner because I had clients in front of me. And
falling apart in a hotel ballroom in Savannah was not going to fix anything.
but I filed it the way I file every detail I'm going to need later. I pulled into my driveway at 6:45 Sunday evening. The catering van was still there. 2 men were loading folding tables into the back, moving with the slow, tired energy of people who've been working since noon. My front walkway had flower petal confetti on it that had been rained on and was now a lavender paste I was going to have to power wash. One of my porch chairs was broken, not dramatically. Just the back leg, cracked clean. The kind of crack you get when a grown adult sits down too hard on outdoor furniture that's designed for ambiance and not for load bearing. I walked inside. The smell hit me first. Catering smell, warm proteins, garlic, something sweet underneath it. My good rug had been rolled up and pushed against the wall, probably to make room for dancing. My kitchen counter had glasses on it, dozens of them. Some lipstick rimmed, some still holding backwash. My cedar chest was open. I walked over and looked inside. The good linen napkins were gone. Marcus was on my couch with 3 people I didn't recognize. He looked up, spread his arms like a showman, and said, "She's home. Rachel." This was incredible. Mom had the time of her life. Mom was in the armchair by the window. She looked up at me with the tired, happy eyes of someone who'd been celebrated all day and was now running on empty. "Baby," she said. It was beautiful. And I looked at my mother, and I felt 2 things at the same time. The first thing was love, pure and uncomplicated. She deserved this. She deserved to be celebrated. And I was glad she'd had a good day. The second thing was clarity. Because Marcus was watching me watch her, and he had a very specific expression on his face. The expression of someone who has just played a card and is waiting to see if it worked. I smiled at my mom and said, "I'm so glad." Then I looked at Marcus and said, "Can I talk to you in the kitchen?" His phone was on the counter. He pulled it up before I could say a word. So the final total came in a little higher than I expected, he said. Like it was a weather report. Like it was information we were receiving together. He turned the screen toward me. DJ. Bar setup and service, $100. Floral and decor, $580. Miscellaneous, $200. I looked at the number. I looked at him. I was thinking, he said, since you're doing so well with the business, and you have the house, and you really do have more flexibility right now. Marcus, I could pay you back in installments. Marcus. You told me 25 people, I said. There were 60. You told me you were handling the cost. You told me nothing would be billed to me without my approval. Which part of that was true? He had the look I'd seen since we were kids. Jaw slightly forward, eyes doing something complicated. The expression that said he knew
he was wrong, but had decided to try one more angle before admitting it.
Rachel, it's Mom's 60th. You're going to let a few $1,000s. It's not a few $1,000s, I said. It's almost 5,000. And it's my house. And it's my napkins, which are missing. The napkins are in the dryer. Marcus. Look, he said, lowering his voice to the one he uses when he's trying to sound reasonable. Family takes care of family. That's what this was about. Doing something good for Mom. I didn't have the money you do, and I knew you'd want her to have this. And there it was. Family takes care of family.
I had heard some version of that sentence for 20 years.
Every time I covered rent, every time I lent money that was never repaid, every time I said yes, because saying no meant being the selfish one, the difficult one, the one who loved her career more than her people. I looked at my brother, actually looked at him, and I thought about Danielle Niel saying, "That's exactly what he's counting on." I said, I'll handle this." He relaxed. His shoulders dropped. His mouth started moving toward a thank you. "I'll handle it," I said again, "but not the way you think."
Here's the thing about running an event planning company for 7 years.
You know every vendor in a 50-mile radius. The catering company Marcus hired? I'd worked with them 3 times. The DJ? He'd done 2 of my corporate events. The bar service company? Their owner, Terrence, owed me a favor after I'd referred him 4 bookings last spring. I took my phone into my bedroom and I made 3 calls. The first call was to the catering company. I spoke to the owner, a woman named Sandra, and I explained what had happened. That I was the homeowner, that the event had been booked without my full knowledge or approval, and that the bill had been presented to me as if I were responsible for it. I told her I was not authorizing payment. I told her whoever had booked the event, my brother, would need to make payment arrangements directly. Sandra was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Rachel, the booking form has your address on it, but the name on the contract is Marcus Ellison." "I know," I said. "I'm not asking you to lose money. I'm asking you to collect it from the right person." She said she understood and would follow up with him directly. Second call, same conversation with the DJ. Same result. Third call was to Terrence. He picked up on the first ring and I said, "Terrence, the bar setup from yesterday at my house. Who signed that contract?" He said, "Your brother." He said, "You'd approved it." I said, "I didn't, and I'd appreciate it if you followed up with him for payment." Terrence said, "Already done." Then I went back to the kitchen. Marcus was still there, leaning against the counter on his phone. He looked up. "Everything okay?" he said. "Getting there," I said. His phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face changed. It buzzed again. Different number. Again. Same thing. He looked up at me slowly. Rachel. They all have your name on the contracts, Marcus, I said, because you booked them in your name for your event at my address. The color left his face so completely. It was almost interesting to watch. You said you'd handle it. I did handle it. I handled it by making sure the people you owe money to know exactly who they need to call. He put his phone on the counter. He looked at me with something I hadn't seen from him in a long time. Not the angle, not the performance, just the truth. I don't have $5,000, he said quietly. I know, I said. That's why you tried to make it my problem. We stood in my kitchen for a long moment. You're going to have to work out a payment plan with each of them, I said. Sandra will work with you on the catering. I already asked her. Terrence is flexible. The DJ does this full time. So I'd call him first. He didn't say anything. I love you, I said. I love Mom, and I'm glad she had a good birthday. But I am not a line item in your budget, Marcus. I never was. I just let myself act like one for too long. Marcus left that night without saying much. He texted me 2 days later. I set up payments with Sandra and Terrence. Working on the DJ. I wrote back. Good. That's all I said. Mom called me the following week. She said. Marcus had told her what happened. His version, I'm sure, with the edges softened and the details rearranged the way Marcus arranges things when they don't reflect well on him. But then she surprised me. She said, Baby, I'm sorry he put you in that position. I held the phone and didn't say anything for a second because I hadn't expected that. Your brother means well, she said, but meaning well doesn't pay a bill. I laughed and she laughed, and for a few minutes we were just two people who loved each other and had been tangled up with the same difficult person for 30 years. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was better than okay. I cleaned up the house that week. I got the lavender confetti off the walkway. I fixed the porch chair. The napkins came back from the dryer a little worse for wear, but usable. The Ring camera footage I kept, not to threaten anyone, just because it's good to have a record of the moment you finally stopped letting people hand you bills. They never going to pay. Here's what I learned and what I want to leave you with. The people who use the word family as a reason you should say yes, they are counting on your love being bigger than your boundaries. And maybe it is. Maybe your love is enormous. Mine is. But enormous love doesn't mean infinite tolerance. It doesn't mean you absorb every cost, cover every gap, and smile while your good napkins disappear into someone else's dinner party. You can love someone completely and still say, this is not mine to carry. You can love someone completely and still pick up the phone and make sure the right name ends up on the invoice. You can love someone completely and still mean it when you say, I am not an ATM. I am a person, and I am done. If this story felt familiar, drop a comment. You are not alone. And you are not wrong for wanting to be treated fairly by the people who are supposed to know you best. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one. I'll see you in the next one.